This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to CEMTV's Morning Pulse. I do hope you've woken up on the right side of the bed. Perhaps you are on your way to work, or maybe you are allowing your TV to play in the background while you prepare to go about your daily activities. Whichever you fall into, I do hope, like I said earlier, you had a restful night. A happy new week to you. I am Emmanuel Tamanor Tenari. Of course, I'm not the face you were expecting. You were expecting the weather oracle Vera Philip, but of course, even oracles need to take a break. So I am standing in for her today, but don't worry, very soon that familiar face and familiar voice will be back with you. This is the weather report here on CEMTV. Of course, we're starting with the hometown of Port Harcourt, where we are located. As you can see, it feels like 24 degrees. It's going to feel like 29 degrees Celsius. And of course, in the day, it's going to hit 28 degrees Celsius. And at night, we're expecting 24 degrees Celsius. And of course, looking at the weather chart, you can see that from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., we're not expecting any sign of rainfall. But from 8 a.m. all the way down to 1 p.m. we are expecting, slightly, high amounts of rainfall, as you can see, with above average levels of precipitation, 60%, 65%, with the maximum going to be at 1 p.m., which is 90%. However, we're going to get a sliver of a break at 2 p.m., with it just being slightly cloudy, no sign of sunshine. But from 3 p.m. all the way down to 10 p.m., we are expecting some light showers and some heavy showers. It's going to hit its peak again at 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. as well, but of course, moving down from 5 p.m. it's only going to reduce in intensity from there, and moving into 11 p.m. we're just expecting it to be cloudy. Now, for those of you that are like me, you like the rain with winds, you can see that we're not expecting that much wind at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. just 3 kilometers to 4 kilometers per hour, wind speed, but the maximum is going to hit at 2 p.m., which is quite ironic, knowing that at 2 p.m. we're not expecting rainfall. So that's the maximum amount of wind, which is at 9 kilometers per hour, moving due south. And of course, that's it for Port Harcourt, taking you to the bustling state of Lagos. You can see that Lagos is following a similar trend to Port Harcourt, in the sense that it feels as though the day is going to be 28%, or rather 28 degrees Celsius, and at night it's going to drop to 24 degrees Celsius. Looking at the rainfall, however, we're going to see slight showers of rain at 7 a.m. with 5% precipitation, meaning it's negligible. It's going to be slight showers, not that different from dew. However, from 9 a.m., the rain is going to increase in intensity all the way to 3 p.m. At first, it's going to start light with 35% precipitation, then it goes up to 50, 65, 70, with it maxing out at 75%. The difference between Lagos and Port Harcourt is the fact that later in the day, we're expected to see a bit of sun. However, it's still going to be cloudy, with 4 p.m. being cloudy, 5 p.m. cloudy with a bit of sunshine, and at 6 p.m. of course, sunset is when the sun is going to be at its maximum. At 7 p.m. well, we're expecting clouds all the way down to 12 p.m. Now, looking at the wind speeds, you can see Lagos is following a different trend from Port Harcourt, because the winds are peaking at 6 a.m. We're expecting winds of 10 kilometers per hour, with its maximum hitting 18 kilometers per hour, which is at 4 p.m., which of course, as I said earlier, is not expecting rain, which of course shares the trend with Port Harcourt, in the sense that in 2 p.m. it's not going to be raining, but it's going to have the maximum amount of winds. But here, 4 p.m. it's not going to rain, but it's going to have the maximum amount of winds at 18 kilometers per hour. That is for Lagos, taking you to Abuja, the mountainous region. The last time I went to Abuja, it was a pleasant experience. And as you can see, Abuja is having a bit more range, with it starting off being cloudy, and then we're having a little bit of rainfall, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And at 9 a.m., we're expected to see a bit of the sun. but it's still going to have clouds. Then all the way down to 6 p.m. it's going to be raining, with the maximum being 90% precipitation. But of course, we're expecting a bit of a thunderstorm at 7 p.m. with rains and lightning. And of course, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. is going to be cloudy and a bit of rain, and expecting some more thunder and lightning at 10 p.m. The winds here are rather mild, with the maximum being 8 kilometers per hour, 8 kilometers per hour from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Of course, if we're going into the night, then we're going to hit another maximum of 10 kilometers per hour. But of course, by that time, you'll be asleep and it won't really bother your day. Taking you to Kano. What did you expect? We're seeing nothing but clear sunshine in Kano, ranging from 7 a.m. with where it's just be slightly cloudy, but the trend of sunshine is going to stay for 2 hours, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with a bit of cloud from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. But then things take a turn from 1 p.m. all the way down to 5 p.m. with slight showers of rain, with its maximum hitting 45% precipitation from 6 p.m. all the way down to 12 a.m. We're not expecting rains, we're not expecting thunder, and the precipitation is rather low, the maximum hitting 45% at 5 p.m., which is of course when the rains are at its peak. When it comes to winds, mild winds, the highest being at 9 kilometers per hour, of course 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., but the highest within the day is going to be 7 kilometers per hour at 9 a.m. So if you are in the state of Kano, be sure to prepare for that. And lastly, we're taking you to Enugu State, where, as you can see, it's mostly cloudy. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., or rather to 11 a.m., it's all clouds. No rain, no sun, just clouds. 12 p.m. all the way down to 9 p.m. it's going to be rain, but you can see that there's a trend of lightning, especially at 6 p.m. with the maximum precipitation landing there at 70%. Of course, going in later into the night, it's going to go a bit higher, but of course it's negligible because then we're moving into the next day. At winds, the maximum is going to be at 10 kilometers per hour, which is going to be at 2 p.m. That's all we can take on the weather report this morning. I am Emmanuel Tamanol Tenari, and I do hope with this you're prepared for your day. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next is travel and tours.